This afternoon we'll be speaking about the if there's a conflict between honoring parents and Shalom Bayit, who wins? So Reuven gave me a great gematria over here. It says the mitzvah of honoring parents, the 5 words underlined, Shalom Bayit, L'man yirich yamecho, L'man yitav. It's amazing, Reuven figured this out. It says when you honor your parents, your days will be long, it'll be good for you. That's what it says in the second 10 commandments in Vaschanan. Reuven figured out that those 5 words, where the Torah promises long and a good life for honoring parents, those 5 words equal 788, which is the gematria of Shalom Bayit. Wow. So, Reuven says now our mitzvah to honor one's parents can now be read, honor your father and your mother, as Hashem your God commands you. Shalom Bayit for you. Wow. Upon the land which God has given you. Wow. So if you honor your parents, you'll have Shalom Bayit. Okay? Because the man yirichin yamecho, the man yitav is the gematria of Shalom Bayit. Wow. Yes?
Just on the subject.
Thank you, Reuven. Yes?
Between a husband and wife, if you want Shalom, buy it.
If you want Shalom, buy it. Ooh. You want Shalom, buy it. So let's say honoring parents conflicts with Shalom Bayit, who wins? So let's take a look at the mitzvah of Kibut Av Ve'em, how important that is. It's amazing that the Talmud Yerushalmi Peah, chapter 1 says, Rav Shimon ben Yochai says, Godol Kibut Av Ve'em. Look how great honoring parents are. Shedifu HaKadosh Baruch Hu yotem mikvodo. You hear Shimon ben Yochai says in Yerushalmi Peah, great is Kibut Av Ve'em, that God considers honoring parents even greater than honoring himself. Rav Zalman, how could that be? So the Talmud Yerushalmi goes on. Shekoved HaKadosh Baruch Hu nemar, as far as honoring God, it says in Mishlei 3, Kaved es Hashem mohainecha, honor God from your possessions, from your wealth. Im yeshloch ata chayav. Vimlav ata patur. Mishlei 3 says, Kabet es Hashem mohainecha. Honor God from your wealth and your possession. So Talmud Yerushalmi darshans in chapter 1, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Im yeshlach ata chayav. If you have wealth and possessions, you're obligated to what? To honor your parents. Vimlav, honor God. See if you're awake. Thank you. Thank you, Rivka. Im yeshlach ata chayav. If you have money, wealth and possessions, you're obligated to honor God. Vimlav ata patur. If you don't have possession and wealth, you're exempt. Talmud Ksubas, page 50, explains, Rabbi Kessler, that if buying tefillin or a mezuzah or a talit or an esrog and a lulav or a shofar will cost you more than 20% of your total income, you're not permitted to buy that mitzvah item because you're not allowed to impoverish yourself. Kabet es Hashem mohainecha. Honor God from your wealth. If you have, atu chayav, imlav patur. But if the mitzvah that you're going to do, buying a lulav, an esrog, or a shofar, or tefillin, is going to set you back, surely, more than 20% of your total income, you're not permitted to do that mitzvah. Because you're not supposed to impoverish yourself. That's by honoring God. Avol b'kibut av ve'em. But as far as honoring what? Parents, nemar kavod savicha v'simecha. Honor your parents, period. It doesn't say mehoinecha. Afilu ato marze apsachim. Even if you have to go begging from door to door, you have to do it to make sure your parents, Evelyn, are what? Taken care of. So, Yerushalmi Peah chapter 1, Rashbi proves that honoring what? Parents is even more important than honoring God. Honoring God when you have possession and wealth. Otherwise, you're exempt. Honoring parents, even if you're impoverished, you have to go begging, chas v'sholom, if that's what it takes to make sure your parents are what? Provided and taken care of. Okay? Now, the Gemara in Kiddushin and the Gemara in Nida says that there are 3 parents in a human being. Every human being has 3 parents. Who are the 3 parents? God, Father, and Mother. 3 parents, right? The heavenly parent supplies the soul. And the human parents supply what? The guf. Right? So the Chofetz Chaim says something amazing. The three parents, 2 human and 1 heavenly. So the Chofetz Chaim says that if you honor Hashem, you also are mekayim kibbut av v'eim. So Chofetz Chaim says it's a tremendous bargain. Every time you do a mitzvah for God, every time you do a mitzvah for you're honoring God, you're also honoring what? Your human parents. And every time you honor your human parents, automatically what? It's a package deal, Rabbi Yaakov. Do you mind telling the lady to turn on the air conditioner? It's very hot in here. Thank you very much. It's a package. Make it a little higher, please. I'll make it more cooler because I don't want to fall asleep. Thank you. So if you honor God, you honor kibbut av v'eim. If you do kibbut av v'eim, you honor what? God. It's a package deal. It's a bargain. Buy 1, get 3. Jews love bargains. Buy 1, get 3. Okay. Now, and the Riyah Kodesh goes further. We know that all mitzvahs cease upon death. Once a person is dead, there's no more mitzvah. There's one exception. Says the Riyah Kodesh. If you look in the 10 Commandments, the mitzvah of Shabbat is written next door to honor parents. What's the connection? When you have 2 psukim Ruvain in the Torah next door, there have to be a connection. Why in the 10 Commandments does God put the mitzvah of honoring Shabbat, of keeping Shabbat, next to honoring parents? Says the Riyah Kodesh. Shabbat is a symbol of Me'en Olam Haba Yom Shabbat Benucha. Shabbat is a symbol of life after death. So the reason why the Torah puts Shabbat, the symbol of Olam Haba, next to honoring parents, says the Ari, Rabbi Yaakov, that even if your parents are no longer in this world, where are they? In the Shabbos world, i.e. Olam Haba, the mitzvah to honor them continues. It's the mitzvah that keeps on going and going beyond the grave. Please, everyone, sign that paper, and please pass it to this side. Okay? So it's a mitzvah that's beyond the grave. So how do you honor your parents when they're dead? So when you're alive, how do you honor them? Take them out for dinner. Right? Take them out for dinner. But eventually, they get hungry again. Especially if you take them to a Chinese restaurant, kosher. In 10 minutes, they're hungry again. Chinese food, manual glyceride. So the Chai Adam says something amazing, Rivka, that there's a way that you can honor parents after death more than when they're alive. You honor them by giving them physical pleasure. But that physical pleasure wears off. It's temporary. But after they're gone, and you say Kaddish in their memory, or you give a shir in their memory, or tikkun, or tzedakah, that hana, Rabbi Yaakov, is not like a Chinese dinner. It keeps on going and going. The hana that you give your parents in the Olam Haba is endless. So the Chai Adam says something amazing. Everyone is guilty. I feel guilty. I didn't honor my parents enough in their lifetime. But I can make up for it by giving a shir and teaching Torah in their memory and giving tzedakah. I am honoring them beyond the grave. It's hana that what is permanent. It's not like a physical hana that wears off. So that's how great kibbut av v'eim is. It's a mitzvah that keeps on going even in Olam Haba as well. When you give tzedakah in their memory, when you give a shir in their memory, you give tikkun, you're honoring them, and all of that. They get, how do you say fargenugin in English? Fargenugin. More than a Chinese dinner. It's forever. The neshama has that pleasure because the family bond is not broken with death, says the Ramban. She's still my mother and still my father after 120. So when I teach Torah in their memory, then I'm giving them pleasure in Olam Haba as well. So that's the Ramban, that's the Riyah Kodesh on why kibbut av v'eim is next door to what? To Shabbat. In 10 Commandments. Thank you, Chava. So now, but let's say that this great mitzvah, let's say when it conflicts with what? With Shalom Bayit. I think it's called in-law relations, or it's called soap opera halacha. Soap opera halacha where the wife says it's either me or them. Choose. In-laws or outlaws relationship, Shalom Bayit versus honoring parents. What's more important? So the Talmud in Sota says, Godel HaShalom. Shalom is so great that God says, even erase my name by the Sota. Erasing God's name is a terrible sin, right, Evelyn? But the Torah says if that's what it takes to preserve Shalom Bayit between hubby and wife, to remove suspicion, God says, erase my name. Wow, erase my name if that's what it takes to what? To have Shalom Bayit. So what does that tell you? Huh? And Avudraham says, why are women exempt from time-bound mitzvot? Do women have to hear shofar, Maddie? No. You do it, you get extra brownie points. Bingo, extra credit. I'll take it. But women are exempt, Evelyn. Why? Women are exempt from time-bound mitzvot. Madua valama, says Avudraham, one of the great Rishonim, because the Torah mitzvah will conflict with her family. It will disturb Shalom Bayis. Now you're going to put on tefillin. Now you're going to hear shofar. Where's my supper? You're shaking a lulav all day. You're blowing shofar. You're sitting in a sukkah all day. I want lovey-dovey. It disturbs my lovey-dovey, Charlie. So the Avudraham says, God says, I don't want to disturb nobody's lovey-dovey. So therefore, women are exempt from time-bound mitzvot, kidei liot shalom, imbalo. Wow. And we know, ish ve'isha, shchina b'neihem. Ish has a yud. Isha has what? That's God's name. If they don't get along, if God is not there, what are you left with? Ish. Wow. So therefore, women are exempt from time-bound mitzvot, says Avudraham, because God doesn't want no machlokes. The women is busy with this mitzvah, that mitzvah, and the hubby wants a romantic candlelight dinner. God says that's more important than putting on tefillin. Rav Zalman. More important than blowing shofar for a woman is lovey-dovey to be what? With her hubby. Get it? Lovey-dovey with her hubby. Isn't that amazing, Michael? Avudraham, that's Reuben's apartment. That's Reuben's apartment. Don't mix me up, okay? Now, yes? Okay. Loy plug. Loy plug, once, right? Loy plug. You know? Loy plug means that once the Torah made a decree, that's it. Then she has obligations to the home, right? To her younger brothers, to her parents, right? Take care of Bayit. If she's single, she has to help take care of the family, right? So, the word ahava in Hebrew, what's the root? Hav. Hav is an Aramaic word which means to give. You know, Hebrew and Aramaic are what? Geknippt and gebinden, you know that. So ahava, the root is hav. When you love someone, it's not what's in it for me, it's what I can give to my beloved. God is constantly giving to us. The last pasuk in Tehillim is the most important. How do I know, Rabbi Kessler? Because achron chaviv. That's why saving the best for last. That's why Jello comes at the end of the meal. Kol anshama tahalal ya hallelujah. Every neshima of a neshima is a gift. Every time a person draws a breath, it's a gift from God. It's not an automatic pilot. It's a special gift. So when you love somebody and God loves us, He constantly what? Giving. And when you love somebody, you accent the positive and you don't focus on the negative. God tells Yirmiyahu, Zecharti lo chesed nurayich ahavas kelasoyich. I remember, Yirmiyahu, God tells him, the chesed, when you are my young bride. God says, we did him a chesed, Rav Zalman. Incredible. I remember, look in Yirmiyahu, chapter 1. The chesed norayich, the love when you were my kala. Lechtech achrei bamidbar, when you followed me in the desert, and you said, you didn't say, where are you taking me? There's no Motel 6, there's no 7-Eleven, right? A barren wilderness. What did we say? Sweetheart, I'll follow you anywhere. God says, I'll never forget that lovey-dovey. What about the Benot Moab and the Korach rebellion and the Egel and the Meraglim and this is no good, is that no good? Huh? God doesn't remember that. What does all remember? The lovey-dovey. So what's God teaching? When you love somebody, of course there'll be quarrels. But when you love somebody, what do you focus on, Shirley? Beautiful. You accent the positive, even though there's negative. Stuff happens. Who said that? Stuff happens. But you focus on what? Please, everyone sign the paper. It's important. Toda Rabbah. Okay. Now, what about in-law relationships? Charlie, what's the difference between an in-law and an outlaw?
One is wanted.
At least an outlaw is wanted. Don't you get it? Right, Zalman? At least an outlaw is wanted. Get it? Wanted? Dead or alive? Okay. Okay. Now, what? Okay. Now, if you look in Sefer Bereshit, now why was Sefer Bereshit written? There's so few mitzvahs there. The first few parshas, there are no mitzvahs at all. And we know Torah means teaching, instruction. So why were the first parshas in Bereshit written, the stories of the Avot, when they contain no mitzvot? They contain something more than mitzvot. Derech Eretz Kodma LaTorah. Vayikra Rabbah, chapter 9, that how to behave, family relationship, Derech Eretz Kodma LaTorah. So therefore the Torah writes these parshas even though they contain what? No mitzvot. I made a bracha before, so I'm not going to say it again. What? No in-laws, right? It's amazing. A chaver of mine, I tell you this. A chaver of mine went to Rav Moshe Feinstein to ask a shaila. You got to hear this. So he walks in, and Rav Moshe Feinstein, his wife serves him a coffee. And he drinks, and he doesn't make a bracha. So the greatest tzaddik of the world tells my friend, you know why I didn't make a bracha? I just drank another beverage. So therefore I didn't make a bracha. Yeah. The great tzaddik, he has to explain himself. My friend came to ask him a shayla, so his wife served him coffee, served both of them coffee, not just him. So my friend made a bracha, Rav Moshe didn't. So he didn't ask. So Rav Moshe said, you know why I didn't make a bracha? I had drunk something right before, and I still had my mind on drinking, so therefore I didn't have to, not allowed to make another bracha. I just drank before, so that's why I didn't make a bracha. But anyway, it shouldn't be a bracha levatala. What? That's a great question, but I don't, we'll talk about it. The Hesach Hadash, it depends how, if you were thinking about it, 72 minutes, there's a lot to talk about. Perhaps one day we can dedicate a shiur to that. Billy Nader. Okay, usually it's if you're concentrating and you have within 72 minutes and the same place, usually you don't make another bracha. Safik brachas l'kula. The OU needs your names for contact you for good things. If you won the lottery. If you win, yeah, please do me a favor, sign it in, and Mrs. Ziegler, please sign in too. Thank you. Okay, so where were we? The Bereshit is a textbook in family relations, and it tells it like it is, and there's no cover-ups. Now, if you look in Sefer Shemot, Moshe and Yisro, look how Moshe respects Yisro. In Parshas Yisro it says, "Vayetze Moshe likrat chosno vayishaklo." Moshe went to greet his father-in-law and he kissed him. I need to know that 3,300 years ago Moshe kissed his father-in-law. Torah doesn't tell me no stories. Says the Mechilta, "Mikan she Adam muchan lichbot chabib." From here you learn out that a person has to respect his father-in-law just like his own father, and his mother-in-law like his own mother. So therefore it says Moshe went out and he kissed his father-in-law, because the minhag is that you kiss your father. That's part of kibbud av. So therefore he kissed his father-in-law as well. It's not a story. to teach that honoring in-laws is just as important, Rabbi Kessler, as what? Honoring parents, and we'll explain why that should be. But anyway, Moshe and Yisro, how they love and respect each other. Yisro rebukes Moshe. Usually when a father-in-law rebukes a son-in-law, Yisro rebukes Moshe, and what does Moshe say? What do you know? No, Moshe accepts the rebuke. He accepts it. Right? Ruth and Naomi. Ruth was the daughter-in-law. Naomi was what? Usually they don't get along, but look how they loved each other. Right? Again you have an incident where Ruth was a convert to Judaism, and look how she loved and respected her what? Mother-in-law. And Yisro was a convert to Judaism, and look how he loved and respected what? His son-in-law. Right? My son-in-law, the lawgiver. My son-in-law, the redeemer. My son-in-law. Wow, can you imagine that? What? The doctor, right? He was very good. Moshe had it in like a king, Chava, right? It's good to be the king. Who said that? I think Mel Brooks. It's good to be the king, right? The Hebrew is a pasuk in Deuteronomy 32. Vahi b'shurin melech v'sasei roshayam. So Rashi says the melech is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Even Ezra says, who's the melech? Holy Moses. Got it in like a melech. Right. Anyway, in-law relationships. In Pashas Ve'era, it tells us that Aaron HaKohen married Elisheva, the sister of Nachshon ben Aminadav. Why do we need to know that Aaron married Elisheva, the sister of Nachshon ben Aminadav? Says Rashi, Nachshon was the first guy to what? To jump into the Red Sea. And Elisheva was the first woman to jump into the Red Sea. Did you know that? Good thing you came this afternoon. Oh. The Marsha says that she must have had a mechitza. She had one of these 1910 Rivka, these 1910 bathing suits. The 1910 bathing suits, you know. But anyway, she was the first lady to jump in, and Nachshon was the first man. So Rashi quotes the Gemara that when you marry a woman, you should check out what? The brothers. Because it could be that the children will follow what? The uncles. Right? Could be, right? So therefore, why did he marry Elisheva? Because she had such a tzaddik for a brother-in-law called Nachshon ben Aminadav. So therefore, he married his sister. Like brother, like sister. Why was this great tzaddik called Nachshon? Nachshon means snake man. He wasn't an Indian. Sitting bull, flying eagle. Why was this great tzaddik called snake man? Good question, Chavit. Glad you came today. The Talmud in Sota says that the snake has no taste buds. Whatever he eats tastes to him like dirt. Even you give him filet mignon, you give him what? A New Delhi hot dog. Whatever you give him, it tastes like dirt. So, Nachshon, you know, what's in a name? Ramban says that a person's tafkid in life is contained in his Hebrew name. So this tzaddik taught that all the pleasures of this world are like dirt when you compare it to Olam Haba. The snake, whatever he eats, tastes like dirt. So the tzaddik Nachshon taught that all the pleasures of this world, you think they're something, compared to Olam Haba, they're like what? Dirt. And therefore he was called the snake man. Whatever the snake tastes to him like dirt. But anyway, now we get to the Peyton place. The relationship between Yaakov and Lavan, Charlie. Oh, negative. Yaakov argues with Lavan, and he fights with Lavan, and Lavan gives him the business. Right? The son-in-law and the father-in-law relationship was not good there. And the Torah does not cover it up. Tell it like it is. No cover-ups, right? Now, the Ramah Paskins of Yeridea Simin Reish Mem, the person is obligated to honor his in-laws exactly like he honors what? His own parents. And you know what the Beis Yosef says, Reuben? What's the source? The source is David and Shaul. David married the daughter of Shaul, right? Michal bat Shaul. And when Shaul was killed, David eulogized him. He said, Avi, Avi, my father, my father. Was Shaul HaMelech his father?
No.
He was his father-in-law. So why did he say, my father, says the Beis Yosef, Rabbi Kessler? Ishtay kegufo. Since your wife is an extension of yourself, so since Michal was the daughter of Shaul, and Michal was the wife of King David, therefore King David had to respect Shaul like Michal respected her father. So even though their relationship was not good, right? That King David was the son-in-law and Shaul was what? The father-in-law. He wanted to kill him. Some father-in-laws really want to kill their son-in-laws, right? David was hounded by his father-in-law. Afal Pikain, he called him Avi Avi because Ishtay kegufo. A son-in-law is like a son, a parent-in-law. What about step-parents? What about step-parents? Do you have to honor step-parents like biological parents? There's an amazing Gemara in Tubot that Rabbi told his children on his deathbed that they should take care of the mother achar moto. Take care of the mother even after he's dead. You hear? Now, Marsha said it must be talking about a stepmother. Because Rebbe's children were tzaddikim. Why does Rebbe have to say, take care of your mother after I'm dead? If they're a biological mother, Rivka, then it's obvious that the mitzvah of kibbut aim extends even after the father is dead. So the Marsha said that this mother must have been a stepmother to Rebbe's children. And Rebbe would come back every Friday night from beyond the grave. The Gemara in Silva says he'd come back every Friday night beyond the grave to check if what? If they continue to what? To respect their stepmother. Now the Rambam says in Perek Vav Hilchos Mamrim, Chayiv Adam bekovet eshes aviv kol zman she'aviv kayam. A person has to respect his stepmother, the wife of his father, the entire time that the father is what? Alive. Shezeh beklal kibut av. Respecting your stepmother while your father is alive, that's part of what? Honoring your father. V'chein mechaved baal imo, and a son also has to honor the husband of his mother, meaning his stepfather. Kol zman she'ima kayemet, the entire time that his mother is what? Alive. But once the biological parent is dead, then there's no longer any what? Kesher to the foster parent. L'chein Rebbe tziva banav, says the Marshal, l'fnim mishur sadin. Even though that Rebbe said, I'm gone now, so mitzad adin, you no longer have to honor your stepmother. That mitzvah only applies when the father is alive. But Rebbe said, I'm going to come check on you every Friday night because I want you to do l'wat, l'fnim mishur sadin. So the chayv to a step-parent only during the lifetime of a natural biological parent, because that's part of kibbut av aim. But once the parent passes on, there's no formal obligation to continue to honor what? A step-parent, only in the lifetime of the natural biological parent. But Rebbe is saying to continue even beyond his death. Okay? Now, the Talmud, Charlie, recognized the tension and conflict between what? In-laws and honoring parents. I think it's called the face-off between Kibbut Av and Shalom Bayit. And we see that the Talmud will reinforce Shalom Bayit over Kibbut Av. Parents have to learn to back away, no matter how painful it is. Now, the Shulchan Aruch and Hilchos Avelut tells us that a daughter-in-law is obligated to sit shiva for her in-laws. Now, I don't know anybody practices that, Shirley, but the Mechaber holds. Maybe some Sfardim do that. The Mechaber, the Beis Yosef Paskin Hilchot Avelut, that a daughter-in-law should sit shiva for her in-laws because it's ishtay kegufo. You would say good riddance, right? Henny Youngman said, I just came back from a pleasure trip. I just drove my mother-in-law to the airport. Henny Youngman? What's a last one. What's a mother-in-law sandwich? Cold shoulder and tongue. Okay, last one. Last one. What? Oh, we'll talk, Rivka, we'll talk. Okay? The Ishtai Kegufai, I don't know anybody that sits Shiva for his in-laws, but if Ishtai Kegufai, and David called Shaul his father-in-law, my father, Beis Yosef learns from there that Ishtai Kegufo. But anyway, the halacha recognizes the tension between in-laws. There's an amazing Mishnah in Tractate Yevamot. Amazing Mishnah in Tractate Yevamot. Now, the Mishnah says that everyone is believed to testify for her that her husband has died. You hear? The Mishnah in Tractate Yevamot 117, that to release an aguna, the testimony of any single witness to a man's death is acceptable, and the man's wife is then permitted to what? To remarry. The witness can be anyone, even generally disqualified to be a witness, such as a woman, a slave, a relative, or one who's not even an eyewitness but testifies only what he heard. The halacha allows that in order to what? Rabbi Kessler, to release an aguna. But there are even one witness. There's one exception. There are many. One of them is her mother-in-law. The mother-in-law is not believed to say that what? That her son is dead in order to what? To release the aguna. You hear? The Rav Kiveger explains the Mishnah that the hatred that the mother-in-law has for a daughter-in-law leads a woman to lie for one of two reasons. You hear? The practical consideration is that the hated woman will be forced to leave her first husband, and as a result no longer to be a cause of suffering to the hater. Okay? The hater wishes to cause suffering to the object of her hatred, right? So therefore, a mother-in-law naturally tends to resent her daughter-in-law somewhat, because she will consume her son's inheritance from his father. You hear this? So maybe she'll lie in order to ruin her daughter-in-law, a married woman being released, right, to marry somebody else. So therefore, a mother-in-law is not allowed to testify to release her daughter-in-law from aguna, because we say that she wants to spite her to set her up. Wow. Ad kedei kach. Wow. So anyway, potential aguna, to ease the plight of aguna, any aid is okay. Any aid except, Charlie, a mother-in-law. A mother-in-law resents the daughter-in-law, and we know midah keneged midah, she also resents, and the daughter-in-law also resents what? The mother-in-law. Because the mother-in-law tells her son, Rabbi Yaakov, do you know that my grandchildren run around barefoot all day, and all she gives them is bamba? What kind of wife did you marry? Letting my grandchildren run around barefoot eating bamba all day. Huh? So, there's a pasuk in Mishlei, Kamayim hapanim lepanim, Kain leva adam la adam. What does that mean? Kamayim hapanim lepanim, Kain leva adam la adam. Rashi says that when you look into a reflecting pond, if you smile into the pond, the face smiles back at you, your own reflection. But if your face is cross, so too is what will be looking back at you, right? So too is the heart of one to another. In Yiddish you say, Herze kennen sich. How do you say that in English? The hearts know each other. In-laws, if you invest love, then just as a pond reflects back, But if you reflect anger and hate, then that too will be reflected back. It depends on our attitude and our behavior. The panim, why is it called a panim? What does panim mean? But it also means pnim. What does panim mean? The inside. The face reflects.
Panim is plural.
Panim. Well, that's why it's plural. Why is a face in Hebrew plural, Rabbi Yaakov? Because it's panim. The face reflects what's going on inside of me. My neshama. Is it troubled? Is it at peace? You see a sour face? Put on a happy face. It reflects the pnim, the inner feelings. That's why it's plural. Right? So anyway, the Shviger always said, you could have done better. Look who you married. Who does she think she is? Right? Now, there's an amazing halacha in Shulchan Aruch in the Yeridea. Listen to this. Someone says, this is Yeridea, Kuf Tezvav. Someone says to his wife, I don't want your parents to darken my door or anyone of your family. I don't want them in this house. Shamin lo. Then you listen to him. He can ban his in-laws from what? From coming to their home. But he has to allow her to visit what? The parents, Pam achas b'chodesh. You hear this? He has to allow her to visit her parents, Pam achas b'chodesh, u'b'chol regel. But if he bans them, they're not allowed to come into the home. You hear this? This is in Even Ezer. Wow. In Even Ezer. 1 second. Chapter 74. Now. Right? Now, once v'chein he, two can play this game, Reb Zalman. V'chein he, what does man? And she too. She can say, I don't want your parents to darken my door because they upset me. Shamin law. We also listen to her. This is in the Even Ezer, Siman Ayin Dalid. Siv Tet. So she could say, oh yeah, two can play this game, Mrs. Ziegler. Two can play this game. So just like the husband can ban his in-laws from what? From coming to their home, right? So she can say the same thing. She can tell her husband, I don't want your parents to come to our home because they upset me, they cause me tsar. Shamin law. What does that mean? We listen to her, because two can play the game. Yeh the Mechaber, Even Ezer, chapter 74.
What's that face for?
1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. Yeah, Shirley, you have to say for the punchline. You have to say for the punchline. Now, and also, the Shulchan Aruch goes on, the wife can say to her husband, let's say the couple live in the neighborhood with the shviger. With the shviger, the neighborhood, with the mother-in-law. The wife can say, I can't take it anymore. She's always popping in. She's always criticizing me. The wife can force the husband to what? Move. Ooh. I can't take it anymore. All she does is criticize me and needle me. The wife can force the husband to move away from his own mother and father. Why is that, Charlie? The integrity of Shalom Bayit takes precedence over Kibbud Aveim. And we're going to see surely why. Okay? We still have time, Baruch Hashem. So the punchline is the integrity of Shalom Bayit takes precedence over the great mitzvah of Kibbud Aveim. Wow. The question is why? Shalom Bayit, Charlie, wins out over Kibbud Av. Because when God created the woman, he said, Ezer Kenegdo. She is the helper for him. Without her, he is nothing. Talmud Yevamot says, any man that has no wife is not considered a complete person. Without her, he's incomplete. He's not called Adam. It says, Zed Sefer told that Adam, when he created Zochar and Nekeva Baram, only when Zochar and Nekeva united, then he's called Adam. So Talmud Yevamot says, page 64, every person that doesn't have a wife or has no Shalom Bayit is not an Adam. So, where's the mitzvah of Shalom Bayit? Where's the mitzvah of Shalom Bayit? It says, V'hafta Rayacha kamocha. Who is Rayacha? Who is your best friend? Your wife. Your spouse, Chava. So, V'hafta Rayacha kamocha, the Rishonim say, that's the mitzvah of Shalom Bayit. Who is your best friend? Or should be? Your spouse. Your spouse. So in that mitzvah is contained what? The mitzvah of what? Of Shalom Bayit. So you see, Shalom Bayit is so strong that it can even overrule the great mitzvah of what? Now why? So to enter this kasha, Chava, we have to ask, did God lie to save Abraham and Sarah's Shalom Bayit? It's amazing. May one lie for Shalom Bayit? Was Abraham and Sarah's Shalom Bayit so fragile that God had to lie to preserve Shalom Bayit? How long was Abraham and Sarah? How long were they married? 89 years. An old couple. There were no spring chickens. Right? There were no spring chickens, right? In Pashas Vayera, when Sarah hears she's going to have a baby, she laughs and she says, Vadoini Zakein. My old man is all washed up. He can't have a baby. Are you kidding? But when God reports the incident, he lies. And he says that she never said Vadoni Zakein. She said Vani Zakanti. I'm all washed up and shriveled up. Why did God change the truth? Because Shalom Bayit. Can you imagine? After 89 years of marriage, Abraham and Sarah would have a lover's quarrel. Who is shriveled up? I'll show you. So God had to lie to protect the Shalom Bayit of Abraham and Sarah. Ad kedei kach. What a powerful message. Says the Chafetz Chaim HaKadosh, Sheker is a tool in Avodas Hashem. Sheker, to lie, can be deputized and channeled to serve God. How? I just showed you how. God used Sheker to preserve the Shalom Bayit of Abraham and Sarah. And that's what the Talmud tells us. It says you should love God b'chol levavcha. You should love God with your hearts. The last time I checked, Rabbi Yaakov only had one heart. How come it says b'chol levavcha in the plural? Love God with your hearts. B'shnei yitzrecha. You should love God not just with your yetzer tov. You should love God with what? Yetzer hara. Lying is yetzer hara, yes? But sometimes you have to deputize the Yetzer Hara and use the lie, as God did, Charlie, in order to what? To preserve Shalom Bayit. Wow. Ad kedei kach. The Chafetz Chaim says that for Shalom Bayit, even a straight lie is demanded. Straight lie. To prevent machlokes, to prevent shame and pain, you have to say a straight lie. In Judaism, there's something more important than truth. Shalom. Right? Or to save someone from busha. You remember the story in the Gemara Sanhedrin? Rabbi was giving a shiur one day. The great Rabbi, Rabbi Aaron. And one guy forgot to brush his teeth that day. And he ate garlic. And he smelled up the whole room. You hear? So Rebbe said, phew, I forgot my clothespin. I can't continue my shiur. Will the guy who ate garlic please get up and leave the room? Rabbi got up and left the room. And then everybody got up and left the room. They all said, we ate garlic. Did Rabbi eat garlic? No. He lied in order to what? To prevent shame and embarrassment of a fellow disciple. Right. In the Gemara in Ksubis, Hillel says, if someone marries an ugly woman, remember that song? If you want to be happy, marry an ugly woman. There used to be a song like that, Rivka. If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, make an ugly woman your wife. I'm dating myself, Sharona. Someone married an ugly woman, and he asks you, what do you think of my bride? Ain't she pretty? And she looks like the hunchback of the Wicked Witch of the West. Remember the Wicked Witch of the West? You're supposed to lie and say, Kala Na'ah. She is 10. Remember 10? Bo Derek. She's 10. But she looks like the Wicked Witch of the West. You have to lie to protect Shalom, not to upset the Chatan. That's more important than telling the truth. Even if it's a lie, you have to praise the person and praise the Kala. Right? That's a Gemara in the Sanhedrin 11, Bov Metzia 23.
Rabbi, so if my wife ruins the chocolate or something, I'm supposed to say, it's pretty good. I don't have to say it's the greatest chocolate, but I have to say at least, it's pretty good. It's not terrible.
That's right. You have to say it's delicious. Give me more. Give me more. Didn't Moshe lie when Aaron's 2 sons were struck dead? And Moshe went to pay a shiva call. You know what he said? He said that Nadav and Avihu were greater than me and you, Aaron. Nadav and Avihu were greater than Moses and Aaron? He lied. But in order to, assuage Aaron's feelings by a shiva, you're supposed to lie. He said, Aaron, God loves them so much. They're so holy that God says, I got to have them next to me. They're holier than me and you. Is that true? No, but he had to say that to assuage Aaron's grief. So even Moses lied to protect what? Shalom Bayit. Now, you got to hear this, Chava. This is from a case in the Yabia Omer, Yeridea, chapter 32. The great Ovadia Yosef was asked this Shaila. Listen what a tzaddik. A woman balas tshuva. She's now Haredi. She used to be Runaround Sue. Remember Runaround Sue? They would run around Sue. But now she's super Haredi. She married a Haredi guy in Kailo. And they had a baby boy. So the husband wants to make a pidyon a ben. But never, when she was Runaround Sue, she had a child, and they put up for adoption. Now she asked Ovadia Yosef, what do I do? The husband doesn't know she was Runaround Sue. The husband thinks that this is their firstborn baby. It needs a pidyon event. She wanted to know, could she allow him to think that this is her first child and not tell him the truth? There's a big problem here. Because Pidyon Aben, the father has to make 2 brachas. Shechayonu a Pidyon Aben. If she continues to lie to him and say that this is their first child, she will be causing her husband to do 2 bracha lavatalot. Not 1, but 2, Rabbi Yaakov. Because the father at the Pidyon Aben, Rabbi Kessler, makes 2 brachas. Making a bracha lavatala, the Rambam rules, is taking God's name in vain. It's one of the 10 commandments, Evelyn. Lo yisisa shem elokecha lashav. Do not take God's name in vain. And the Rambam paskins hilchot brachot. If you make a bracha levatala, Sonia, you're taking God's name in vain. One of the 10 commandments. So this woman was torn. She's super Haredi now. If I don't tell my hubby the truth, he'll be 2 bracha levatala. So my cheshbon taking God's name in vain. If I do tell him, there's a danger that what? The marriage is finished. Divorced. Super Haredi now. He finds out I'm running around Sue with a kid somewhere. Forget it. Rebbe, what could I do? What should I do, Rebbe? Oh.
Wasn't that a Charlotte to Body Yosef?
Yes, I just said that. Yabia Omer. Yoredeya chapter 32, Rabbi Aaron. That's what I'm quoting from. So, can I lie and allow him to make 2 brachal avatolos in order to save the marriage? Says Ravadia Yosef, don't say nothing. The great tzaddik. Koved habriot, shalom bayit adif. Don't you dare say anything. Be quiet. I, the husband, will be making 2 blessings in vain. Says Ravad Yosef, what do you want? For shalom bayis, God says, erase my name. Erasing God's name, Rabbi Kessler, is worse than what? Than taking his name in vain. Said the great tzaddik, wide shoulders, shh, don't say nothing. Mazel tov, I'll come to the Pidyon Aben. He'll make 2 blessings in vain. So what? God says, erase my name for shalom bayis. So you can make a brachal of a tola for shalom bayis. Not 1, but what?
2.
Wow. 1 minute. 1 minute. Erasing a name of God is worse than saying a blessing in vain, and the Torah demands it to preserve shalom bayis. So the great tzaddik paskin like that. Shalom bayis adif. How do you say that in English? Preferred, like by the Sota. Yeah? Not finished yet. You got to hear this, Rabbi Zalman. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, Zechat Tzadik L'Vracha. He was invited to be Mesadek Kiddushin. Tzaddik Kiddushin. The mother of the bride is very distraught, Charlie. She's distraught. She's like flipping out. So you think it's the caterer, it's the photographer, you know, the shviger, the machatunim. She's flipping out. She has to speak to Rav Moshe privately. She's going out of her mind. So she calls him Rav Moshe privately. And she breaks down and she begins to weep hysterically. She said that this daughter of mine is a mamzeret. I had an affair with the milkman. 29 years ago, I had an affair with the milkman. Or maybe the traveling salesman. And this daughter of mine is a mamzeret. And a Jew is not allowed to marry a mamzer. I can't live with myself that a Jewish person is not allowed to marry a mamzer. Rebbe, I'm flipping out. This child is a mamzer. It's not my hubby. It's the milkman.
Was the milkman Jewish?
The milkman.
The milkman was Jewish.
It was Chol of Yisrael. Right, the Chol of Yisrael. It was Chol of Yisrael. Chol of Yisrael. So that's a whole different subject. You're right. Only if the lover boy is a yiddle. So what did the Rebbe say?
Why? Why? She's married. What does it matter?
No.
If she's a married woman, does it matter if the guy's a Jew?
Yeah, it marries Rivka.
What?
If the lover boy, if the lover boy is a goy, there's no yichus by a goy. It's still adultery. It's not okay. Chalila. It's adultery and it's capital punishment, but the child is not a mamzer because there's no yichus by a goy. It's adultery and capital punishment, but the child is not a mamzer because there's no yichus by a goy. But if the milkman was Jewish, like in this case, the child is a mamzer and he can't marry a yid. So she said, Rebbe, what can I do? I can't allow this marriage to go through. You know what he told her? Shut up! Shut up! You know what he said to her? He said, Ein Adam Mesim Atzmai Rasha. If you are telling me you had an affair with the milkman, you are saying you're a Rasha, right? Ein Adam Mesim Atzmai Rasha. Halacha does not allow a person to say that he's an adulterer. I don't believe you. You are lying, lady. You must be hysterical. And also, korev posel edut. You're a relative. You're related. You can't testify for your relative. First of all, you cannot make yourself a Rasha. By saying that you had an affair, you're making yourself a Rasha. That's not admissible in the Jewish court. And number two, korev posel edut. You're a relative. A relative can't testify for a relative, for or against. And therefore, he told her to shut up. Let's go to the wedding. She swore that the child is a mamzer. She swore to him, shut up. Ein odam mesem atzmai rasha. We make who determines halacha? We do. Lo b'shamayim. Charlie, we create our own reality. Halacha creates a new reality. Now, Shalom Bayis is so important. The Meiri asked the bomb kasha Sharona from bomb land. Shalom Bayis is so important that God says, erase my name in order to what? To protect Shalom Bayis. Erasing God's name is a terrible sin. It's worse than eating pig. What's worse? Eating pig or erasing God's name? Erasing God's name is worse. And you're supposed to do that for Shalom Bayis. So the Meiri said, if the wife says, listen, if we don't have pork chops tonight, there's no Shalom Bayis. Tonight is pork. I feel like pork chops tonight. Now, eating pork chops is a terrible sin, but it's not as bad as what? Erasing God's name. So the Meiri asked the Bam Kasha, Rabbi Kessler, if I'm supposed to erase God's name to protect and preserve Shalom Bayis, so why can I not eat pork chops? The wife will say, or the husband will say, no pork chops tonight, there's no Shalom Bayis. I'm kicking you out of the house. Are you allowed to eat pork chops? No!
You can't buy them in a lot.
No! Or the wife says, you're not wearing a shatna suit tonight, you're sleeping on the couch. Can I wear a shatna suit tonight? No! So the Meiri, one of the great Rishonim, Charlie asked, Ma nishtana, erasing God's name, worse than wearing shatnas. There you're supposed to do it for Shalom Bayis, but other prohibitions, you're not allowed to do it, even if it will cause what? A breakup in the marriage. You're not allowed to eat pig or wear shatnas, even though Shalom Bayis will go down the drain. What's the difference? Says the Meiri, listen to this. Shalom Bayis is different because Hashem's name is Shalom. You can't say that name in the toilet, right? One of God's names is Shalom, right? If you're going to a mikveh with your friend Shalom, right? And you want a towel, you can't say, hey, Shalom, pass the towel. Say, hey, you, pass the towel. Because you can't mention God's name in the mikveh. Shalom is God's name, right? Hashem's name is Shalom. So for Shalom Bayis, erasing God's name is actually a tikkun for the Shem Hashem. Because God's name is Shalom. So by erasing his name by the Sota, that's fulfilling his name. Because his name is what? Shalom. So there, the tikkun is erasing the name to preserve Shalom. That's only by erasing his name. Because his name is Shalom. But other Isurim, even though Shalom Bayis problems will result, you're not allowed to do any Isur for Shalom Bayit. Okay, so we see how great Kibbut Av V'Aim is, but the bottom line is Shalom Bayit triumphs. Because without Shalom Bayis, we are what? It disturbs God's peace. Thank you very much.